All right, good morning, everyone. So officially, welcome to the first Hispanic Farmers and Agricultural Professional Symposium. Thanks for coming today. All right, I'd like to go ahead and officially introduce myself. My name is Jessica Coscia, and I'll be part MC, part traffic throughout the day. So I'll be here to serve you throughout the day. As we approach Hispanic Heritage Month in just 2 days, I'm honored to be a part of an event that celebrates the contributions of Hispanic farmers and agricultural professionals across the Southeast and Puerto Rico. Our hope is that this event creates new partnerships and empowers a new generation of Hispanics who will embrace the challenges to lead and feed a new generation of Americans. So let's get started with our program today. We are lucky enough to be graced with the presence of the president of the NC Farm Bureau, Mr. Larry Wooten, this morning. He's our host today, and he wants to provide some official welcomes to his home. So thank you, Mr. Wooten.
Well, thank you very much, Jessica, and I won't take very long this morning. Buenos dias. I want to officially welcome all of you to the state headquarters of the North Carolina Farm Bureau. On behalf of our board of directors and over 577,000 Farm Bureau members across this great state, we're honored that you're here today. When I was approached about us hosting this event here, we jumped at the opportunity to host this Hispanic Farmers Agriculturalist meeting here at the state headquarters. All of you know, many of you know, I'm sure, that Farm Bureau is the largest farm organization in North Carolina. It's the largest farm organization in the United States. And so in North Carolina, we're very proud of the diversity of our state's agriculture. We're the third most diverse state in the United States in terms of agricultural diversity. But ladies and gentlemen, a part of that diversity is not just the diversity of crops. It's the diversity of agriculture, the diversity of geography, the diversity of locales, and certainly the diversity of farmers that we have in this state. And so we are honored that you're here. You have a great program today. I look forward to continuing to be a part of this program throughout the day. Enjoy the day. Certainly you're here in the boardroom of the state headquarters. Our board of directors meets here. We are not, obviously we don't have 120 members of our board of directors, but this is where our board of directors meet. So we're honored that you're here. Enjoy. You know where our facilities are, and I just look forward to being with you today. With that, I'd like to introduce another special guest that's here with us, a man whom I have worked with, we have worked with here at Farm Bureau, and whose agency does a tremendous amount of good for farmers and for our rural communities. And at this time, I would like to introduce Robert Hosford. Robert Hosford is the newly appointed state director for USDA Rural Development. Robert is a good man. He's going to do a good job. And with that, I present to you Robert Hosford. Robert.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Wooten. And this is an amazing place to have a meeting in. Before I started this job, I worked with the Commissioner of Ag here in North Carolina, and Larry and his group were kind enough to host many, many meetings in this room and the one behind us. So thank you again, Mr. Wooten. This is great. Robert Hosford, State Director of USDA Rural Development. We're here to help rural communities and people in those communities. We have 4 missions where we work: single-family homes, multi-family homes, community facilities, so think firehouses, charter schools, rural hospitals, and then we also do work over in business and industry. So we're open for business. We have a process that we go through. We ask folks to go to our county office. And we're here to help these communities survive. My colleagues here at NRCS and FSA, they're working out there with farmers and the conservationists. We're working with rural communities, the people who need homes, the people who need multifamily homes, the communities who need a wastewater treatment plant. We have the ability to go and partner with them to get those infrastructure needs met, because frankly, at least in our state, Mr. Wooten, some of our infrastructure in our rural communities, I mean small communities, 20,000 people less. I saw one the other day where the pipe had been laid down in 1898. It's time to fix that. If we're going to have a healthy community, we have to have healthy water. And as Mr. Wooten talked about diversity, we have all types of folks on our staff, and we embrace that. And we work with all types, all folks in all walks of life, all types of communities. And we're sensitive to the fact that, as our agriculture and rural communities are kind of, right now we're in a bit of a change as we're going through with the farm economy being down, with what's going on in the trade wars. Farm country's hurt. USDA Rural Development is here to help those communities. I'm going to be hanging around today until 10:45 or so. I have to make it to another meeting, but I'd love to visit with you. Even if you're not in North Carolina, I have a colleague, there's somebody just like me in every single state, and in Puerto Rico. Actually, I was with him just the other day. We were down in Mississippi. Is anybody from Puerto Rico? Anybody know Josue? Okay, great guy. So with that, I thank you for letting me come up here and join you, Jessica. Thank you. And I'd like now to introduce one of my colleagues. He's our State Conservationist here at Natural Resource Conservation Service, NRCS. I've worked with Mr. Beard for quite some time, and Tim's been a great partner, even while I was over at NC Department of Ag, and now here at USDA, I'm part of the family. But with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Tim Beard, our State Conservationist here in North Carolina.
Thank you, Robert, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Man, I'm so excited about us being here this morning. We've been talking about this for some time now, and it's finally here, and I'm so excited about it. As State Conservationist here in North Carolina, I just want to say welcome to the great state of North Carolina. I'm going to be brief because after me, my boss will be coming up, and I don't want to take up much of his time. I mean, he's coming from Washington, and that's not the only reason I want to take up much of his time, but I know he needs time because he's the son of a preacher. He's going to need all the time he can have. But I also want to just say thank you to the farmers who have come out and will come out this weekend. Too often we don't say thank you all enough. And I certainly appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. One of the things we discussed in having this meeting is when is a good time to do this. And as we continue to discuss that, there's never a good time to do it. So again, thank you all for coming out. Thank you all for participating. I hope you get something out of this conference that can help you as you continue to provide food and fiber for the folks here in North Carolina. Next, I want to thank my good partner now, Nolo, and his team. Man, this is an awesome guy. He's just a great guy to work with. He's got a lot of knowledge. He's forward thinking, and he is really the person that's behind this symposium that we're having these next 2 days. And I certainly want to thank you for all that you have done and working with us as a partner and making this happen. Next, I want to thank the partners here in North Carolina. I know this is not uncommon for us to work together, but we came together and I think we put together a great program for these next 2 days. So, and all the partners that helped organize this, can you all please stand? And I want to give all of you all a hand. And then I have to recognize my NRCS folks. Will you all please stand? These are folks that get it done. I mean, they work hard. They don't complain. they just get it done. And look, he's right on time. Next. If I did not introduce my colleagues, there are 3 other state conservationists here, and I want to recognize them. So you already standing, Carlos, but would the other 2 please stand? And so again, thank you all. Thank everybody for coming. Thank you all for participating. We're going to have an awesome time these next 2 days. Again, I am so excited about it. And with that, I'm going to introduce a person that I've been knowing for quite some time now. He's not only the best boss that you could ever have. It is getting close to performance. But no, seriously, he is a great boss. I've been here for 6 years, and he's been there for me since the day I got here. And, I knew it even before he became my supervisor, but he's a mentor for me, and I certainly appreciate him taking time to come down to North Carolina, to get outside of the Beltway and see some of the great things that we are doing here in North Carolina. So James, will you please come up?
Wow. Wow. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
Thanks so much, Tim, for your leadership. And Robert, congratulations to you and just all the good things that are occurring. Jess, appreciate you in terms of helping me get through this. And someone asked me, do I get nervous? Carlos, I always get nervous. But I think this one would be, Ms. Nolo, when I think about the work that you and I and other teams are doing, I think to myself, is how appropriate it is today, folks. How appropriate it is that we're right here in Farm Bureau as a partnership, not only working, do what we call conservation work, but to help build communities, to make agencies and communities stronger. I want to commend you, Dr. Nolo, and your mind in terms of leadership, for helping to make these kinds of activities possible. And I know when I think about Juan Hernandez and Carlos, I think about them being my mentors, and I know I've counted on Carlos over the years. Folks, I want to reiterate to you what the chief mentioned. When we talked about coming here, he wanted to be here and he had 2 events scheduled. He asked me, could I fill in? I said, well, Chief, I can't really fill in, but I'll go in and speak and make comments that you share with me. Folks, what the chief has talked about, when he sees the opportunity right here, when Nolo and the team sit down and visit with him and work with his staff and talk about the potential out there, and when I have the opportunity, Tim, to talk about things that are taking place here in North Carolina. This morning I got a chance to visit with, where's Jeremy Ralston? Got a chance to visit with Jeremy. And Jeremy told me, Nola told me very quickly is, he just said the next few days, because I was getting ready to kind of change the write-up to Tim, but he said he's going to be, he had his career goals. And he didn't just have career goals, folks. He didn't have career goals in the local office. I think he recently moved to the state office. He talked about not just being chief, but the biggest thing he talked about was, Robert, was about making a difference and helping other teams be better. And I think that's why we're here. And you challenge us at NRCS, not just in terms of placement, but about the expertise, not only the expertise that we have here, Tim, but the expertise that we're going to have over the next 100, 200 years. In terms of taking the expertise and putting the expertise in places where we need expertise, where we need individuals who can be sure that everybody has access to USDA programs. I don't know about you. I don't know about the work and all the places you see, But when I came in to Raleigh on last night, my flight came over. You know, I don't like flying too well. I mean, I don't do it that well. And we came over in the airport, I think about 12:30 this morning, and the pilot said, well, he said, I think we got a little problem. We coming in too high. I knew I needed to be here. He said, we're gonna go around and try it one more time. And then we got it right. But the point I'm getting at is the last 3 flights I had a little difficulty getting on the ground. And the point I'm making is, it's all about preparation. Some things we can control and some things we cannot control. But the things you're doing here, you're controlling the future. As the chief talked about is, the next few years, the agency continue to grow. And also in terms of Warren and Astrid, keep challenging me. You know Warren. I always use Warren as an example because he never accepts no. He always says, if that doesn't work, let's try something different. And he always makes things better than they are. Folks, we have an opportunity today. And I'm glad I'm here because I want to jot this day down, that when I'm long gone and retired, that I can look back at Jessica and say that I was here on that particular day when we met there at Farm Bureau, when we had some ideas and we could look down the road and have an opportunity to see what the future would be like. And we were a part of that transformation, not a transformation that changed 5 years, not a transformation that changed 10 years, but a transformation that changed a community, can change USDA, and change the access of resources that were available across the country. Folks, I'm just gonna make remarks. I'm about done, but let me leave you with this. There's a poem, I like poetry a little bit, and I'm not very good at it. But I sent somebody this morning somebody made a decision, I sent them a little part of a poetry. And I'm not gonna read it to them and leave you with this thought. You know, I love Robert Frost. I love him dearly in terms of, I don't know him, but I just read a lot about him. I read about his poem called The Road Not Taken. And that poem talks a little bit about two roads diverged in a wood. And sorry I could not travel both, and be one travel. Long I stood. And at the end it goes on to say that ages and ages hence, I should be tested to side. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. I took the road less traveled by. And that is what we have done today. And ages hence, we will be telling this with a sign and the benefits that we were gone, Jessica, from this day forward. I thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Let's give them a big round of applause once again. Speaking of roads traveled, Mr. Tillman got us on the right path this morning, didn't he? Speaking of transformation, Nolo Martínez, this is sort of a reverse roast for him because I'm sure that he'll get a lot of praise throughout the day for the transformation that he's been responsible for in North Carolina over the years. And everyone mentioned it in one way or another. He's impacted my life in many ways. I've known him since I was a college student at Peace College here in Raleigh. And today, he will transform each one of your lives. And then you all will go on to make changes in others' lives later on. That's the hope, anyway. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. Nolo Martínez and Ms. McElrath to the stage. They are, once again, the masterminds of today's event. And they're going to share some important information with you regarding the enormous influence that Latinos have had in agriculture, They're also going to highlight the need for more Latino farmers as leaders and decision makers in this industry. Welcome.
Good morning. So my name is Heriberto Noel Martínez y Maderilla. I really don't know who Nolo is. I think that I feel pretty comfortable with saying that a lot of what happens behind the scenes, even if they say Nolo many times, that has nothing to do with me. But, I came to North Carolina December of 1985. And at the time, I came because of farm workers and the interest that I had in getting a degree at North Carolina State University. And at the time also when I came, the airport that you landed if you came from somewhere to RGU did not go too far. We actually didn't even have flights to Europe. And when I look at what has taken place, my son was a year old, now he's 33. Many things have happened. And I think I can speak to the fact that what we're celebrating is agriculture. Agriculture really is the key of what has brought the Hispanic flair, feel, interest, and generations to this great state. And I want to talk about the fact that we are talking about the impact, the contribution of the Hispanics, but the presentation that we have using data and numbers have a lot to do about investment. I see faces of folks that have been here for a long time, and what you have done is investing for you and your family. So agriculture happens to be the common denominator. In addition to that, natural resources and conservation. So as we present to you the numbers, the data, the information that we have, we'd like for you to think about how we are going to invest for the next 30 years, how we're going to invest for the next generation of folks, whether it is Hispanic, folks that are African-American descent. It is important to remind ourselves that we're influential on the life of many folks, independent of color, independent of ethnicity. So we Hispanics come today to celebrate agriculture as a common denominator for our culture, for who we want to be as a nation and as a country. So thank you for coming. The way we divided our presentation, and we're going to try to go as fast as we can, and I can guarantee you that this information not only will be used in many other opportunities that we will have. We're trying to actually give you the most updated information we have based on the Ag Census and other sources. So you'll be looking at what we know at the very last minute. Some of the information that we'll share about Puerto Rico is not as current. One of which is the Ag Census was delayed because of something called Maria. But some of that information we will be able to update for the island and give you that information about farmer counts and all those. And again, think about investing. And when you think about investing, it's important to talk about population growth. It's important to talk about purchasing power. It's important to talk about the presence in agriculture and breaking stereotypes. When you talk about agriculture, you're not talking about just labor. You're talking about entrepreneurs that need managerial capacity. You're talking about capital, and you're talking about land. So in all of those four areas that I mentioned, beyond agriculture, beyond labor, we have a presence, Hispanics, and it's strong. I'll let Maya continue with this information in terms of the numbers, but I just need to also talk about one important thing. One of my dear friends is here in this session, and I met him. When I met him, he was a farm worker, and he is today a leader helping farmers and farm workers that have disability, but yet continue to farm. And he's been doing that work for quite some time. He's from the Dominican Republic, and he has dedicated time and miles traveling North Carolina to support other farmers. And that's the kind of theme that we have throughout the day. Agriculture has so many careers and so many opportunities that I think the future in agriculture continues to be as good as it was when I started this about 40 years ago, and I'm only 22. I'm going to have Maya speak about population, then we're going to move into the economy, and then we're going to move into farms, and then we're going to move into some of the approaches that we have taken in terms of outreach, this effort, and working closely with NRCS throughout the Southeast region.
Good morning.
Morning.
So Jessica was right about the mastermind, but the mastermind behind the project is not Maya and Nolo. It is Nolo. When I think about, and I'm going to slow down and think about the projects, the grants that we write, the ideas, they come from Nolo. What we need is data always to be able to say where we can implement them. And then we have, folks like Mr. Tillman, when we go meet with him and he says, okay, well, tell me how many, tell me what. So it's important to hold on to the data, to be able to plan for it, to do the evaluations, and this is how we continue. Before we even start talking about farmers, just in general, currently the Hispanic Latino population is about 18% in the United States. By 2060, it's projected to be 28% of the total population, 111 million Latinos in the United States, 28%, and that's significant. The slides are, okay, the streaming, I just got a little note there, it's not available. We can't do the streaming of the slides and presentations. All of this is available on the site. When you go back in and you see where you kind of got some information or you registered, you will be able to see all of the presentations that you see today, including some of the ones that you may not be able to attend another session. So it is available for you. In general, there are currently 60 million Hispanic Latinos in the United States. And in our Southeast region, so we'll sometimes talk about the larger region, and mostly our focus has been the Southeast and Puerto Rico. There are 10 million Hispanic Latinos in the Southeast region, our 11 states region, about 17% of the total. If you look, not surprising, 1 in 4 Floridians are Latino, and that's growing, and it's going faster. In North Carolina, we have reached 1 in 10. Significant. Aside from just talking about Hispanic Latinos, I want to talk a little bit about the change. So if you see on the left-hand side, this is a little graphic that kind of illustrates the total population change over 8 years. Where we are in North Carolina, we are the second fastest growing out of the 11 states constantly. Florida's ahead of us, but we're second and Georgia comes third. But in general, if we look at the region overall, between 2010 and 2018, 30% of the population change and growth was in these 11 states. 70% was in the balance of the United States. If you look at net migration, more than half of the folks who have moved into either a state, domestic migration or international migration, moved into our 11-state region, more than half. International migration is a quarter. In general, what that looks like on this side, 18 million people moved to the United States between 2000, or the population increased 18 million people between 2010 and 2018, of which 6 million were here in the 11-state region. Interesting, the domestic migration all the way to the right, you see that we had an increase of 2 million folks come in from another state, and that they all came from that balance. Domestic migration is highest for Florida, 1.2 million, followed by North Carolina, about 400 million, and then Georgia. A lot of folks leaving New York, minus 1.2 million. That's domestic out-migration. They still have a net growth, the population is still growing, we still have international in-migration, but a lot of folks leaving from New York into other areas, followed by Illinois and California, the top 3 out-migration. This is a sample of what it actually looks like. So if I focus on North Carolina, The population growth, 60% of the population growth, 66 was because of migration. 33% was natural increase, meaning there were more higher births and deaths, but that's only a third of the population change. People are moving here. People are constantly moving here. In Florida, it's 89.5% of the population growth are people moving to the state of Florida. And this, I'll just leave up there for 1 second while I take a sip of water. This illustrates the population change of Hispanic Latino and non-Hispanic Latino. You see the Hispanic Latino population change is at minimum 17% in Alabama and goes all the way up to 32% over that 8-year period in Florida. The non-Hispanic population grew, but not quite significantly. In Mississippi, it looks like 0, but it was actually 0.002% of a population increase was non-Hispanic Latino. In that 8-year time frame, there's only 1,000 additional Mississippians, non-Hispanic Mississippians, but 18,000 Hispanic Latino Mississippians in the area. Shift gears for a second, and I wish folks could see this certainly, but the population pyramids. So population pyramids are a wonderful tool, certainly for folks who like data to study and to analyze and to look at. And what this gives you, what a population pyramid illustrates, is the population on the left-hand side are your males and the right-hand side are females, broken down by age categories, by 5-year increments. It kind of gives you a picture of what the population looks like. Population pyramids are created for cities, they're created for states, all kinds of regions, and you suddenly get a chance to see, and people use this for planning, right? If you look at your city and you have a very high older population, you have to consider what you're gonna do with your resources. You have to consider how you're gonna support retirements. The age category from 15 to 64, that's your working group. That's the essentially working group. The ones below 14 and above 65 are kind of your dependent populations. So statisticians also use dependency ratios to see, well, do we have a really high group of folks, young folks and older folks that we have to support in a working age category? The higher that proportion is, the higher that ratio, the more stress it puts on the communities, right? So some communities have a very large base and very young populations, and you'll see some change. In Japan, you know, they're certainly becoming heavier at the top. This is the United States. You'll see the baby boomers. You'll see that pocket there where you have 50 to about 69, 64. You see the baby boomers, right? So you see that population increase suddenly. So sometimes you'll see, you can look at population pyramids and see a little gap and realize there might have been a war. Females typically live longer than males. So if you look at the 85 plus, there's significantly more females in the United States than there are males at that age. This is overall, and this is your Hispanic Latino population pyramid. So as the population decreases, we do a lot of these studies and we see white populations decrease, Black populations decrease, biracial populations increasing, but the Hispanic Latino is always increasing. So this is a more even pyramid showing this continued growth. And you look at the folks in the middle, the ability to support and to work and take care of the dependent populations above is much stronger than it is when we look just at overall. And if we slice this out by different races and ethnicities, you'll see even changes, even some more changes. Because we're North Carolina, I want to look at that one. I could talk about this endlessly, but I'm not going to, but I love looking at these, wondering what these little gaps are on the side. And this is your Hispanic Latino population in North Carolina. And one more for context, we'll do Florida. All races and ethnicities, you see it's a little older. Hispanic Latino, it's not quite such a perfect pyramid. The Hispanic population is much more established in Florida, so certainly that has tapered off as well. But then we look at the whites, non-Hispanic population. That's a visual. You think about retirements in Florida. So this is a wonderful way to kind of study the population. And there's certainly,
So I think that we touch on the issue of investment, and I want to take you back, not necessarily in terms of a visual, but before we go to the island of Puerto Rico, which is part of this southeast region when you think about USDA and the work that we're doing. So think about the discussion that you hear regarding the new communities and the immigrants, especially, and you look at those pyramids, and you look at the base, and you look at the folks that are now in the room that have grandparents and have parents that are going to need care, and that working age group, and how critical it is to have a very healthy, growing community that could actually take care of the future. Or think about agriculture, and think about the potential that you have in places like Southeast North Carolina and areas where the immigrants are growing and can actually take over and support those that are going to need the help. So when you look at Florida and you look at something that is not a pyramid, it looks like those old Coke bottles, big ones at the top, the base is critical. So without the immigration, without that new blood youth investing in these industries that are basic to the well-being of the community. So that's what we were talking about, investment. So when you look at Puerto Rico, then you're looking at some of the situations that will also challenge the island in terms of the out-migration of Puerto Ricans out of the island, especially many of which are very talented individuals. I mean, we continue to hire folks in the US, North Carolina, that are, master's degree, doctoral, that are in industries that eventually we will need to have them, that workforce in the island. So the reverse would be true. We would need to have folks come back to support that development. In North Carolina, for those that are living here, the East Coast of the state, when you are basically making urban areas full of opportunity and jobs, and you move from the east or the mountains into those urban areas and ignore the rural areas, economic development is going to be based on bringing folks back, bringing people that can actually be the engine and the new blood of these communities. So Farm Bureau understands that. For example, we have had conversations with folks in the agency regarding the future of farmers and what culture do they represent. So for them to open to the idea of understanding that agriculture changes and continues to be vital, with new communities coming in, is great to see that we can actually have members and that we can add people in the leadership to maintain and sustain what is important about agriculture. So there's not an accident to talk about these population pyramids, because that's the key. I was telling the group the other day that if you tell me your age, I can close my eyes and in 20 years I can tell you how old you're going to be. So it's a perfect science. It's a perfect science. So it's for decision makers, from the president to local officials at lower levels. Ignoring these pyramids is ignoring the most basic fact. If we don't work on our base, on our youth, on our children, we're not going to have people to replace the cooperative extension leadership, the folks that need to understand that this is where we need to make the biggest investment.
I'll add one thing in regards. There was a recent article in Forbes that talks about, if you look at this population, same with me, the population kind of slimming. There's some ways to resolve this. One of them is immigration. Another one is to encourage women to actually be able to have babies, subsidized childcare. One of our other projects, we do a lot of early child education programs. There's no universal pre-K, so the ability to have children is tough. So people decide to have fewer. And then also supporting seniors and being healthier, having stronger Medicaid or Medicare options, so they're less taxing onto the systems that are available, right? So there are ways certainly to support the population increase, but immigration was certainly first. So in terms of Puerto Rico's population change, the graphic says it. There's really nothing else that needs to be said. I mean, we can look at the numbers, but it actually shows a significant decline. And then most recently, if you look at the decline from one year to another, that's the most rapid one was obviously from 2017 to 18.
Okay. So let's move into the other part of this equation, which is the size of the contribution. And I'm actually quite happy to have Carlos Suarez here because he represents the state of California. And obviously we looked at what happens in California or what happens in Texas in terms of the generations of Hispanics that had settled. And you look at where we were 20, 25 years in North Carolina. And at that time when I was working for the governor and we were doing the Hispanic Council and bringing stuff, I thought North Carolina, specifically Raleigh, was going to become the next LA. And I'm still not sure that that will not happen. We're getting a lot of competition from Georgia. In fact, at the time when I was doing that work, and it was in the 90s, Raleigh had the fastest growing Hispanic community compared to any other city. And today, Georgia is really giving us a lot of competition, specifically because second to the Chinese Americans, we're the most metro ethnic group in America. So we tend to go into rural, urban areas. But different from the Chinese Americans, we're really strong on agriculture. So in North Carolina, the booming of the Hispanic community was meat processing plants. When you think about Silent City, anybody from Chatham County or anybody from those areas that you have meat processing plants, those were the areas that attracted a lot of these communities. And then generations, and we have, for example, later today, generations of Hispanics that are born here in the state that are about to graduate from college. And so those individuals are taking positions in different professions in agriculture. So second, a few groups in the nation are as important to the Hispanic when it comes to the health of the economy. And why? Well, because 1 of every 3 workers in agriculture is Hispanic. 1 in every 4 workers in construction is Hispanic. So you take any industry that requires labor or requires activity, we do 3 things. We do 3 things that are undeniable. Independent of immigration, there are 3 things that we do better than many people. We fill jobs, we pay taxes, and we generate employment. So when you look at the community in general, we're going back to some of the things that lead us to this. Sorry about this one. I think, yeah, we're going back. I don't know if you can appreciate that from the back, but talking about California, in terms of the spending power, the purchasing power of Hispanics in that state is $184 billion. And it's interesting to see how Texas and California maintain that level of spending power in that community. But then we see the growth in Southeast states. In North Carolina, we are at $8.6 billion in purchasing power. And that's really strong for a state that 25 years ago, we didn't actually get to about 200,000 folks living in the state. Today, we are close to about 1 million. So that's really significant. The other thing that I think is significant is our contribution to programs that support security, Social Security and Medicare. So we don't have that discussion, and many times that data is available and it exists, but it's not talked about. And when you look at the contribution of the Hispanic community in programs that are very much needed to support the elderly and the youth, the contributions are there. So in the case of our age, for example, we're the youngest ethnic group in the nation. And based on that, we will have plenty to contribute for years to come. And so we're getting to the point of talking about our contribution in agriculture, but I think we have to set the tone of what the economy is gaining from the presence of Hispanic consumers, as well as the Hispanics that are paying taxes in the world. But let's move to agriculture. I'm going to pass on some of these, and they're there, but in agriculture, for example, I mentioned that 1 of every 3 workers is in agriculture, which is a very strong industry in the economy. We're talking about 662,000 workers or people involved in the industry. One of the things that we wanted to do in this conference is not just talk about the impact of the workers, but the impact of the professionals, many of which you're going to get to listen to. And the impact of some of the younger Hispanics that are actually going into agriculture. And you'll see in the panel following us of young farmers there that are actually 22, 23, and they're actually entrepreneurs already. We're going to go into the agriculture just to give you a little bit of a flavor for the size. This one will show you a little bit of the workforce, but I want to go into the farmers so you can move it along. This is one of those things that many folks don't know. One of the very first things that I think people think about when you talk about agriculture and Hispanic, they think about farm workers. And there is nothing wrong about that, because we basically have in some states 96% of the folks harvesting and the people in the fields are Hispanics. But this is also significant. About 15,000 farmers and operators in the Southeast happen to be Hispanic. And in North Carolina alone, 769. If you take Florida, that is one with the highest. If you take Miami-Dade, which is at the very south, and sometimes we think about Miami as a place to have some fun and go to the beach. There are close to 2,000 farmers in that county alone, and many of them in that homestead area. And so it's really powerful what's going on. Thank you, Mark. One of the things that we can show you is that in all the states in the Southeast, we have had a growth of Hispanic farmers and operators, except for Mississippi. This information of the 15,000 does not include the island of Puerto Rico. In the island of Puerto Rico, we are waiting for the new census to know the count. But in 2012, the number was 13,000. So if you add the ones that we gave you in those southeastern states and the island of Puerto Rico, you're talking close to 30,000 farmers that either own the land or are managing those fincas, the land.
So aside from knowing how many farmers there actually are, once we send our team, once we prepare for the outreach, for the work that we do, we want to have a general idea of how to task or change our strategies based on where we are, by states or by counties. This is an example, and there's hundreds of indicators that we use. We just have a few, a sample, but this is, for example, the age group, the average age of all operators, and the change across this 7-year span. And you see that both in Kentucky and in Louisiana, the average age has decreased by 9% and 6%. So they're getting younger, right? So we're building, so we focus on beginning farmers and young farmers. They're getting a little bit older in Florida as well as in Arkansas and Virginia.
And more women also. Female Hispanic women as farmers is growing faster than males in some states.
This is an illustration of the number of farms that are out there, same with the numbers and the increase. Virginia, interestingly enough, there's an explosion of farms. I mean, it's a 600% increase. Obviously, we're talking about 700 overall, so people are operating additional farms in that location. Same thing with land and farms and acres.
Mentioned to USDA group that I was speaking the other day is that unfortunately, not all, because I think that we mentioned one, and we mentioned a couple of other leaders that are going to be here talking. I think that those leaders understand what is to be data rich, information rich. I just find a lot of agencies, from extension to NRCS to FSA, they're data rich, but they're information poor. And by that I mean that they have that information, but they don't test and verify. So if you're in a county where the census tells you you have 29 Hispanic farmers, which is in this county, no one in the USDA goes out to test and verify. So that's part of the work that we do. With the help of one, for example, we were looking at the island of Culebra, which is a smaller island in the island of Puerto Rico. We had no farmers there, and with his help, we were able to register 7 farmers. And so that's what I mean when we say you're data rich, but you're sometimes information poor. And that's what this work of strategy based on where you are. In the state of Florida, I can actually touch 51% of all the farmers that are Hispanic in only 4 counties. That's where they are. Why do I want to just be talking to the state like a wild person when you can actually go be present in those counties and do the recruiting and do all the conservation information and all the other programs? So that's what we mean when we talk about this, because many people in extension, and in this state, for example, we know Catawba County does a great job in outreach to the Hispanic farmers. They can tell you where they are, they can tell you what they're growing. And then there are other states that will say, no, I've never seen one. And the census is showing 69. So those are the kinds of things that this information does to be more precise.
The top industry for Hispanic Latino farmers is beef, cattle ranching, and farming. Also important to know which crops we should be focusing on in which areas. 30,000 operations of beef, cattle, and farming. And then the illustrations on the right are, again, our Southeast region, and Florida certainly at the top as well. 1,200 beef, cattle, ranching, and farming operations in that location. The second one are other crop farming in general, 30,000. The other crops, so Florida is at the top as well. Florida, as we know, 7,000 Hispanic Latino farmers, so they're always going to kind of rise to the very top. Looking at this, and I know we have just a few minutes, we certainly want to look at, again, several factors, and this talks about the principal operators and whether they own the land, rent the land. We look at tenant farmers, and you see an increase here as well. Everything that's green at the bottom right, there's an increase of Hispanic Latino farmers actually owning their land at this point. It dropped a little bit in Mississippi. It's important for them to own the land. That's how we can certainly support them and give them the resources needed.
So the last thing is a little bit about the future. One of the things that we have started with NRCS and other agencies, but specifically with the youth, is that we started a program to support internships, and is to recruit bilingual, qualified agronomists, engineers, biologists, to bring them into an experience that they can understand the work of USDA. And as of this year, we have a total of 29. 2 have been accepted in the Pathways program, which is a program that we're going to talk about this afternoon, that guarantees them a future in USDA, in agriculture, where they would like to be. And we have hired 2 of them to do outreach work for us on a full-time basis. We have over 300 farmers that are part of our database in 3-4 states. We plan to start in North Carolina next year, but we have work in Florida, we have work in Mississippi, work in Louisiana. You'll actually meet some of the farmers that have worked with us. Jose is here, and Jose is here. We seem to find a lot of Jose. And I think that what I find that is quite exciting is that the folks that you'll meet that are in agriculture, studying agriculture, that are going to be in professions, are not only committed to agriculture, that's really in their blood, and they see agriculture as their future. And it's wonderful to have bilingual people taking care of audiences that are needing information in their own language, and it's just really wonderful. The last thing I'll say is, and this is the most important thing, if you're an attorney, you have an opportunity in agriculture. If you are a designer, you have an opportunity in agriculture. If you're a publicist, agriculture has so many opportunities. And we need to start talking to youth and kids about it, specifically Hispanic kids that may actually see their parents struggle with farming from another point of view and not earning the type of living that they deserve. But if we push them out of agriculture, we're missing out on science, on engineering, architecture, design, and this is the beauty of this field that we're celebrating today. Yeah, we're celebrating Hispanic heritage, but we first celebrate La Madre Tierra, motherland. And so I'm glad that we're doing it the right way, natural resources, conservation, and the youth. So thank you for coming, and that's our story. We're sticking to it. These are the sponsors of the event, and I wanted to throw that in because I thank you guys for supporting us and giving us a chance to do this. And we're going to do this again next year, and the next year, and the next year, and we're going to make it even bigger. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that background, Maya and Nolo. Particularly inspiring, and that talk particularly resonated with me because after Hurricane Maria, as a Puerto Rican, I noticed the incredible need in Puerto Rico for an increase in interest in agriculture. I've been back to the island to take care of a few things with family since after the hurricane. And every time I visit the island, there's one common theme. And it's particularly amongst the aging population. They continue to say that there's no ag on the island anymore. And I come from a family of farmers on the west side of the island, coffee plantation owners a very long time ago. And I visited just last month, and my aunt took me on a tour around the land, which is now filled with houses. But one thing that she said was that right after the hurricane, everything was flattened out. So there were no trees, there was nothing growing. And she said within just a few months, those roots gave light to avocado trees and pineapples again, and passion fruit on those lands. And so they never had a need for anything. And to this day, they still pick fruit off of those trees. My family on the east side of the island had a different story. So the east side of the island is a little more urban, it's less rural, and they struggled for food and water for much longer. And so, so this talk really reminds us that it's super important, especially amongst the younger population, to get them involved in these ag fields. And I'm really encouraged to meet so many young people from Puerto Rico that are here today, that are contributing, that will be our future leaders. So with that, one of the individuals that I had the pleasure of meeting yesterday, Rafael Vega, he is also from Puerto Rico. He will be the first moderator of your first panel today. Rafael?
All right. Good morning, everybody. I would like to ask for panelists to start working their way to the front, please. Well, that's occurring. We will be showing some pictures on the screen. And I will take advantage of this opportunity with graphics and now that I have your attention to be able to introduce you to some of the panelists that are going to be speaking with us today. Well, first, we got Jose Seda. Jose is a proud operator of a family farm in Puerto Rico. Oh, I need to click it.
No, you're good.
All right. Like I said, Jose is a proud operator of his family farm in Puerto Rico. He is, his main crop is coffee. And he is currently pursuing a degree in agronomy, right? As well, we got Ms. Elide Santos and Wooten Sanchez. They are an onco-means team, and their main crop is dragon fruit. They are currently located in Florida, and they're originally from Peru, right? Venezuela, arepas. So we are very happy to have Elide and Mr. Sanchez with us today. In addition to that, we got Mr. Jose Guerrero. Mr. Jose Guerrero is a producer entrepreneur. He's an outstanding individual that currently has a nursery, and he's located in Louisiana. And he as well has a lot of action with an ag supply business. So that's a different twist. Like I said, in addition to the farming that he does, he's also an outstanding entrepreneur. So please, to the producers that are here, please work your way to the front. And with that short introduction, please help me welcome our new producers. All right. Thank you. So I would like to brief you on how this is going to work. I got a set of questions. You got 4 questions. I'm going to allow 10 minutes for each question that is going to be shared from our 4 panelists. Then after that, we're going to allow some questions from the public. I would like to remind you that if you would like to ask a question, number 1, raise your hand so I can manage the questions. And secondly, once it's your time to speak, ensure that you press on the microphone that's in front of you, and you can, once it's green, we can go through your question. All right? So with that, let's start. So the first question that I have for our panelists is, why did you get into farming? ¿Por qué ustedes entraron en la agricultura? ¿Por qué están en la agricultura? So let's start with our first Jose to my right. Vamos a comenzar con Jose.
Buenos días, mi nombre es José Antonio Seda. Bueno, estoy inducido a la agricultura porque mi abuelo fue el primero que compró la finca, ¿verdad? Para allá para los 70. Y luego mi papá pues, decidió seguir con la agricultura también, a pesar de que para allá para los 90 vino lo del huracán George. Y cuando a mí me tocó la decisión de elegir qué estudiar, pues estudié extensión agrícola en el colegio de Mayagüez. Y siempre me ha apasionado, siempre me ha gustado y algo es como un legado familiar para mí.
Thank you. All right, second Jose.
Yes, I'll be honest. I didn't get into the nursery business like the flower business like many people did. The reason I got into it was after high school. I didn't have any plans for the future life. I didn't know what I was going to do. But I had an uncle. He has a pet nursery in central Louisiana. He offered me a job, and I started working right after high school. And then I started working in a nursery supply store shortly after. And after that, I started seeing the nursery business in the eyes of many Hispanic owners, and that really caught my attention. And since then, I started to have the nursery, and it's been great so far.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and talk about how I got into agriculture. It's very touching for me because in an early age, my grandparents were coffee producers, and I grew up in the ag environment. I thought I was going to be talking about that one day, but it takes me back to so many memories of how my great grandparents and my grandparents and then my parents, we used to pray before planting for God to help us not only produce for us but also for the neighbors once we were harvesting and sharing the blessing of God. And as I grew up, I wanted to go to university to study agriculture engineer, and then life took me to the States. And after 28 years, my uncle here asked me to join him into the dragon fruit business, and I was very happy and excited to come and work with him into the agriculture. And it's been for me, it's so pleasant. It's for me every day to go to work. I'm the happiest. And I tell everybody, I used to work for Evergreen Finishing Line, and I tell all my coworkers, I am the happiest woman in the world every time I go to work because I'm with the nature. I'm not in cage anymore. And I'm so excited. Yeah. My son, he's 11, and he sees me how happy I am going to work into the farm that they're teaching an ag class, and one of the first choices was to go into the ag. So it's like, gonna be a happy man. Yeah, so yes, I love agriculture. And that's how I got into the dragon fruit business now that we are with my uncle.
Thank you.
So that's how I got.
I love your energy.
Buenos días, un placer también estar aquí en esta conferencia con bastante gusto. Lo mío es todo lo contrario, fue una situación casual. Yo no había pensado a una edad avanzada en agricultura, ya tenía una actividad bien firme en importaciones. Yo me dedicaba a servicios aduanales y unos amigos me convidaron a invertir en una empresa agrícola, que fue esta de la Pitalia, sin ninguna clase de conocimiento al respecto. Entonces, ingresé con un capital y estando en la empresa, una suma apreciable, resulta que vinieron los inconvenientes porque la gente no sabía de cómo atacar y cómo mantener las plantas. Y tocó que así como hay momentos agradables, hay que luchar también con situaciones difíciles para que la gente pues sepa que al ingresar a la agricultura no es todo como un paraíso o un cuento de hadas. Entonces hay que luchar contra inconvenientes. Vino el problema de la mosca africana, se paralizó la producción, empezaron a salirse los socios que tenían capital, había puesto más de lo que yo había ahorrado para un retiro y me vi en dificultades y no me quedó otro remedio que acudir a una persona preparada, familiar, que también se preocupara por el negocio y tuve la dicha de que tuve mi sobrina al lado, que tenía experiencias familiares y que tenía el deseo de incursionar en estas actividades. Bueno, entre los dos, al final sucedió que tuvimos que seguir hacia adelante en el negocio del cultivo de la fruta y afrontar las dificultades hasta cuando más o menos a través de 6 años que llevamos en esto se ha estabilizado y ahora la finca, la plantación va un poco más estable, produciendo una buena cosecha que permite un ingreso que ayuda a cubrir todas las necesidades de la compañía, cubre los gastos y ya vamos en una situación de estabilidad. Quizás hacia una vía de ver que se van a realizar los frutos de los esfuerzos y va a haber utilidad para haber compensado el trabajo y las dificultades que hasta ahora hemos tenido y lo que hemos aprendido. No queremos salirnos a esta altura, ya pasamos las malas y vamos hacia una vía de estabilidad y sí estamos contentos con la actividad agrícola que conocemos un poco más, pensamos seguir adquiriendo conocimientos y seguir adelante en lo que estamos realizando. Es un gusto estar aquí con ustedes.
Gracias, Sánchez, por ese trasfondo de cómo usted llegó a la agricultura. Te agradezco mucho. Well, now I got another question for the group. I am interested to know what kind of services are you taking advantage from through USDA, Nolo Consulting, or other partners that have helped you on your operation. Me gustaría saber qué servicio a través del USDA o del Nolo Consulting ustedes han tenido la oportunidad de tomar ventaja. Y me gustaría comenzar con usted nuevamente.
Bueno, detrás de los agricultores hay una buena organización oficial que es el Departamento de Agricultura que funciona quizás en cada estado. Tiene gente graduada, preparada en asuntos agrícolas que siempre están promoviendo conferencias y actividades a través de las cuales instruyen a los agricultores sobre la forma de enfrentar la agricultura, las plagas, cómo tratarlas y cómo combatirlas. Y también hay una unión entre algunos granjeros, gente que ha pasado por los mismos problemas y que los ha vencido y saben en qué forma y le transmiten a uno los aplica y son efectivos. O sea que bien por vía oficial o bien por vía extra oficial siempre hay la posibilidad de conseguir información en un momento de necesidad. Y por otra parte, la persona también procura instruirse a través de folletos, mensajes, conferencias y libros, y algo siempre queda una cultura, que es lo que uno le queda poco o mucho de lo que escucha y de lo que ha aprendido y lo aplica en su plantación con buenos resultados. Siempre, pues, el agricultor no está nunca desamparado. Siempre hay apoyo y siempre hay respaldo. Eso, pueden estar seguros que quien incurra en estas labores, bien de sus similares en la misma actividad o de los organismos oficiales, va a tener apoyo para seguir adelante.
Bueno, our experience with the USDA and the NRCS has been great. With the USDA, we were having financial issues, and we requested for a loan, and we applied for a loan, and we got the loan for $150,000 that helped us with all the expenses, and they gave us 7 years to pay back. We already have 2 years. So, and then we, through them, we met Ricardo there, and then he introduced us to the NRCS, and he talked about equipped and conservation, how we can, with the conservation programs, we could apply and get irrigation systems. So we applied, and we applied for the water management. We applied for the pesticide management, and we are into the fertilizer management. And that is going to help us to not only become a better producer, but also take care of our land, not using pesticides that are going to hurt us and us and the community, and also the land, you know, because we have long ways, waters, so everything that in Florida, because of the type of land we have, so we can really affect our environment. So it helps us to be conscious, you know, because we as producers, we want to produce and we want to succeed, but then it helps us to take a step back and be more conscious about our land and about our water, how, you know, how we can affect in the long run or short term, you know, the land and the people. And we don't want to do that, you know. So with these programs, you learn a lot on how to manage all those pesticides and fertilizers and water. And so we kind of meet in the middle, you know, where we are producing, but at the same time we are helping the environment. And we applied for the irrigation system, and we have got it. So we're gonna start working on the installation by April next year. So we're happy and looking forward for that because we need it, and that's gonna help us with the water management program. So it's good. Yes, no, I help us a lot. So we're happy. Thank you, Ricardo.
All right. So, sometime last year, I was approached by Adrian Parrott. He is a colleague of Nolo, and he started talking to me about all the things that are out there, things that I had heard of but never knew how to get. Pretty much all the help that's already out there for beginning farmers. And one of the things that he did is he introduced me to Ms. Mejia. She is the Central Louisiana Local Foods Initiative. She's director, and she has been she has really helped me in seeing all of the ways that all of the farming experiences connect somehow. You know, it's not just the nursery business is one thing, the plant crop producing is one thing. It's somehow all connected, and it really helps to have a connection with people that are really out there to help. And overall, I've had a wonderful experience thanks to Nolo and everybody else.
En Puerto Rico, la industria cafetalera, todos los terrenos donde se cultiva son escarpados, inclinados, y NRCS nos ha ayudado a nosotros en cómo plantar las plantas en esos terrenos, nos marca los contornos para evitar la erosión, porque es un problema de la industria cafetalera bien serio, nos ayuda a controlar la escorrentía de la lluvia. Y luego del huracán María en el 2017, que eso fue algo devastador, ellos nos dieron apoyo económico con la remoción de los escombros. Y USDA tiene un programa que se llama NAP. Ese programa para nosotros, eso fue como que, de verdad, ellos nos ayudaron, nos pagaron las plantaciones nuevas de café que vendimos, y eso fue crucial para nosotros podernos levantar otra vez la industria de café, por lo menos la finca de nosotros, y he escuchado a otros agricultores en Puerto Rico que fue de gran ayuda. Yo, que estoy con Nolo Consulting, tuve la oportunidad de ser elegido, ¿verdad?, para ser internado en Culebra, y eso fue para mí una experiencia gratificante y me ayudó mucho como persona y para crecer profesionalmente. Gracias a Nolo Consulting.
All right, next question. Leader, I would like to just switch it up a little bit. I will start with you this time, right? I am interested to know if you had any challenges through the process, and if you got any challenges, if there's any recommendations for us on how to do much better in regards of the services that we provide to you. And if you didn't have any challenges, I got a follow-up question.
Okay, challenges in the process of getting the application.
The services, the challenges in general. How provide us with some recommendations on how we can do better,
Okay.
or how we can enhance it
Okay.
if it's already super good.
Okay, so, well, for me, it's been smooth because over there, they're so nice and so helpful, you know. If I need, they go into the paperwork and I needed something, they just call me and I say, you need to bring it right away, and I go around and do it right away. So, and they tell you, you know, you get into this program, it gives you points, so, you know, and it's good for me because I'm gonna learn, and I'm eager to learn more. So yes, put me there, I'll follow, I'll do it, you know, so, no, it's been great experience, but yes, the people over there is so nice and helpful, you know, no, I don't think it was a challenge.
Okay.
Just time consuming because of the process. You know what I mean? That you
A lot of papers.
Yeah, a lot of paperwork to do, but they help you for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. What's that? Can I go with you?
Yeah.
All right. Let's hear it.
Okay, en Puerto Rico, por lo menos, NRCS y USDA, pues ellos no van a donde los agricultores a ofrecer las ayudas. Los agricultores casi siempre se enteran por un vecino o los agricultores que dicen, mira, están dando esto, vete y aplica. Pero luego que tú estás allí, ¿verdad? El servicio es de primera, ellos te orientan, te dan seguimiento, pero para conectar al agricultor, ¿verdad? Eso es lo que está haciendo Nolo Consulting. Pues no, por lo menos nosotros, nunca fue nadie a la finca de NRCS ni USDA a ofrecernos servicios, siempre fue que nosotros lo buscamos.
Yeah, so last year I actually applied for a high-tone grant that is offered by the USDA. I never heard anything back of it. However, I do have recommendations for people who seek help from any agency, and that's to keep in contact with them, because at the end of the day, they are people just like us, and it's not all just, they don't just go down a list. It's really personal contact really does make a difference, and that's really with everything. So that's one of our main recommendations is to keep in contact, and don't be scared to ask again.
All right, Mr. Sanchez.
Bueno, sí, la actividad agrícola es una de las más dinámicas que existe. No es una actividad estable, como decir quizás dedicarse a un restaurante, una cafetería, que es pedir un café, un sándwich o un alimento. Eso cambia permanentemente con relación al tiempo, con relación a las plagas y con relación a las dificultades que enfrentan los agricultores. A veces hay los recursos, pero si no se entera el agricultor, como dicen los compañeros nuestros, de los servicios a los cuales pueden acudir de inmediato en frente de las dificultades que nos quedan y que se presentan. Por ejemplo, en la zona de Florida, de un momento para otro, de mayo a noviembre, no se sabe cuándo viene un viento inesperado o una lluvia fuerte o un mismo huracán. Destruye las plantaciones, tumba las plantas y quizás estos servicios oficiales pueden prestarle inmediata ayuda al agricultor mediante financiamiento, ayudar a levantar otra vez su cosecha, o en medio de una plaga también están informados de cuáles son los productos que pueden combatir esas plagas. Entonces yo sugeriría que permanentemente hubiese algún representante preparado de los organismos que de vez en cuando visitara las plantaciones, o que uno pudiera acudir para enterarse cuáles son las ayudas o las asesorías que pudieran prestarle a los agricultores.
All right. So now let's take some questions from the public. Please remember, if you got a question, to raise your hand first so I can manage the questions. And secondly, once you're ready to ask your question, make sure that the light in front of you is on green. Cynthia?
Okay.
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Bueno, primero que todo, muchas gracias a los panelistas por compartir su experiencia. Y mi pregunta es para José, creo que es, pero cualquiera de los otros tres participantes sí pueden responder. Pero me llamó la atención, José, lo que dijiste de cómo ustedes no sabían de la ayuda que había disponible. ¿No? Y ese es un reto que tenemos. Yo trabajo con la Universidad Estatal de Carolina del Norte y a veces se nos complica mucho cómo conectarnos con los trabajadores o con los productores. No, la pregunta es específicamente, ¿de qué manera creen ustedes que sería la mejor manera en que nosotros podemos comunicarnos con ustedes o que ustedes conozcan cuáles son los servicios que nosotros ofrecemos?
Bueno, podrían poner un personal, ¿verdad? Que vaya y busque a los agricultores donde están. Otro medio sería la radio. Los agricultores, por lo menos en Puerto Rico, los agricultores siempre están por la radio conectados, Facebook, pero yo pienso que lo más conveniente sería una persona que buscara a estos agricultores y le ofreciera el servicio, porque los agricultores son bien fieles a su trabajo y cuando ellos están en la finca, a ellos no les gusta salir, no les gusta interrumpir, hay que entenderlo, ¿verdad? Ellos siempre están contra el tiempo. Esa es mi sugerencia.
Anyone of the other ones would like to add other recommendations?
Bueno, yo creo que también podría ser muy efectivo que en los organismos correspondientes hubiese pero igualmente una persona que en cualquier momento que acuda, un agricultor en solicitud de información sobre qué podría ser la forma de que él pudiese tener respaldo para el problema que confronte, se lo pudieran explicar ampliamente y pudiese acudir a eso si es posible.
Tal vez como un database, o sea, del agricultor, de manera que... I'm speaking Spanish.
Español, inglés no importa.
I think that the USDA, NRCS should have like a database of the farmers in the region. So if there is like something coming up, a program or situation, example, hurricane, rain, send like a message, you know, like if they have our phones and then they send, okay, there's a hurricane coming, if any damages, this is the programs that you should, the phones that you should contact, or this is the, is there any new program available? Okay, everybody who needs qualify for this program, this is the dates that need to be applied for, you know, so the farmers know, okay, from this time to this time, I need to, you know, make the time to go to the Department of Agriculture or NRCS to apply for this program. So, you know, keep on the toe. I think that would be a good idea if they have a database and then they text them or send them an information. Because usually most of us have a cell phone, you know. So either WhatsApp or, you know, just text message, it would be nice, you know, so because we don't have the computer, well, we have the phone also with the emails, you know, but database like a phone message, text message, you know, that we kind of know what's going on with new programs in help and assistance.
Something that I think would really help with that, and which is very important, is that I think farmers should be not only connected to your local USDA contact representative, but also with each other. More than anything, have a group that you can talk to about this type of stuff, and you guys can always consult each other, and maybe one of you guys hears something that the other one doesn't, and it's just great to have other people to count on that are doing stuff that you're doing.
Me queda claro que todos ustedes han tenido contratos con NRCS en algún momento dado. Y me encantaría saber en el proceso desde que ustedes aplicaron a que terminaron con un contrato, ¿qué parte fue la más confusa, si alguna, en el proceso? O entendían todo lo que estaba pasando en todo el momento, desde el momento que aplicaron a que acabaron.
La parte más confusa para mí fue cuando apliqué, no sabía en qué momento es cuando me iba a tocar a mí la asistencia. No sabía si iba a ser mañana o sería más personas diferentes de mí, o no sabía cuál era mi prioridad en eso. Y creo que también es la razón por la que mucha gente se espera cuando no recibe asistencia inmediatamente, porque no sabe si aún no le toca los turnos para ellos o están esperando un poco de esas personas.
En nuestro caso, en el momento en el cual necesitaron la ayuda económica fue sencillo, porque había un cupo de recursos para otorgárselo a los agricultores. Y llegué en el preciso instante en que eso existía. Y le expresé a la persona indicada, bueno, que yo aspiraba también a una cantidad. Y es más, solicité menos de lo que estaban dispuestos a aplicar. Y me lo otorgaron en un plazo de 7 años a un interés muy bajo. y aún se está pagando, pero ya se pagaron las primeras cosas. Fue un proceso, en nuestro caso, fácil, rápido y sencillo.
Una pregunta relacionada a la empresa agrícola como tal. Ustedes, antes de entrar o a través del tiempo en que han estado trabajando, han hecho un plan de negocio para ya sea en la pitaya o ya sea en el café, y cómo han recibido ayuda, ya sea de extensión o cualquier otra agencia, para mejorar ese plan, si han tenido ayuda.
Por lo menos en la industria de café en Puerto Rico, pues hay unos beneficiados, unos centros de acopio que reciben el café. Podríamos decir que en Puerto Rico el café en uva, o ya sea que sea seco, el proceso que el agricultor le realice, pues tiene mercado seguro. Al menos que sea que tú quieras montar tu coffee shop, ¿verdad? Pues ya ahí tendrías acceso a algo más delicado, tienes que hacer un plan de negocio y eso. Pero nosotros por lo menos no. Cultivamos plátanos también y naranja, pero hay unos centros agropecuarios, uno lo lleva allí y lo vende, que no hemos tenido problema con eso.
En cuanto al producto, nosotros, la pitaya, hay que estar muy atentos porque el problema consiste en que el productor no fija el precio final del producto. No es quien dice, quiero, aspiro o mi producto vale tanto. Uno tiene que ir donde los compradores, que generalmente son mayoristas, que conocen el mercado interno de las diferentes zonas de Estados Unidos donde lo van a llevar, y en la zona adquieren la fruta y le fijan un precio. Muchas veces, por supuesto, no estamos conformes con el precio que se le ha fijado a la fruta, y depende también, porque generalmente hay varios productores de la misma fruta y se da en la misma época. Entonces sale mucha fruta al mercado y el precio en el momento en que tenemos fruta baja. Pero el precio final lo fija el comprador, el que va a recibir la fruta. ¿Entiendes? Y más o menos es soportable, pero no es un precio justo, en realidad. En ese sentido, no tenemos el contacto con los distribuidores en cada zona, porque el distribuidor de la zona donde se cultiva el producto lo adquiere y se lo lleva a otro distribuidor en otro mercado dentro del propio Estados Unidos donde no existe la fruta. Por ejemplo, para mayor comprensión, el comprador de Miami adquiere la fruta de todos los productores y se la lleva a un distribuidor en Nueva York o en California. Y ese distribuidor en Nueva York o en California, con su correspondiente utilidad, por supuesto, porque está trabajando, se la vende a los mercados. Entonces el precio va creciendo hasta el último consumidor, que es el consumidor normal, el que consume la fruta. Pero el productor no fija el precio de su fruta. No sé cómo se puede superar esto. Pero si hubiese alguna forma en la cual los organismos oficiales pudiesen informarles a los productores cómo llegar hasta los compradores más cercanos al consumidor, indudablemente que el productor tendría un mayor ingreso y podría defenderse más para pagar su fertilizante, sus empleados y los gastos que normalmente tiene una actividad de producción de fruta.
Sí. Nosotros estamos confrontando en este momento, we as a producers, we are confronted right now a big issue with that, because there is no fixed price, so we don't know what we're gonna get. We work very hard to get not only the best food, but a healthy. That's what we care about. That whoever eats our food is healthy, get the benefits of the food. That is very expensive. in trying to try to be into the organic process is very expensive. And when it comes to us to sell the fruit, we don't have an organization who can help us with the distributors. The distributors right now, we tell them the fruit, okay, the price is at the market is $2 per pound. And when they give us the check 20 days after or months after, they sold that, they give us, oh, we sold it at 90 cents. And they told us $2. And we're expecting that money to keep going and buy good fertilizers and going into organic pesticides. And we receive 90 cents, $1 per pound. But in New York here, they're selling $6 a pound, you know? So it's a big issue because the money that we're counting on to receive a month later is not there, you know? So we really need an organization who can protect us with that if the market says it's $2, and then it's $2, no, a month later, 21 days later, oh, sorry, the market was saturated and we could have sold it for 90 cents. And take it or leave it. I mean, this is what we got for you and this is it, you know? And then we are like, what? What are we gonna do? We still have 20 employees to hire to pick up the food and we didn't even get that money, you know? So it is very, very worrying and upsetting because we care about our employees too. You know, we want them to be happy because that's another issue that we're having. We have no people. We have no one to pick up the food. We have no workers. Right now, we are using the Haitian community to help us pick up the food. I mean, let's talk here. There is so many challenges that we as a producers are having. There are no people, and the people that we have to take care of them. And how do we do that? By paying a good salary, because if we don't, they leave. And when we need them the most, they are not there for us. So how they come back? If we pay them a good, rate for their labor, So we need that money. We need those $2 per pound because they are gonna help us take care of our employees. They are gonna help us to provide them, all they need the day they pick, because we want them to be hydrated. We need to buy them their food. We have to buy them everything they need. And if we don't have that money, they're not gonna come back. And what are we gonna do? You see, right now it's really, really hard. Yesterday we planned to pick fruit, and we were expecting 10 people, and only 3 showed up because they're busy, because it is hard work and all the stuff. And even though we increase, we receive money, we increase. We tell them, okay, we're gonna pay $10, we're gonna pay $12 or $15, but please come. We provide them the food, the water, the Gatorade, everything they need to be hydrated, and and we tell them you need to in this time you need to drink your Gatorade, you need to replenish and all the stuff, but it is so hard. So yes, we need an organization to help us with the price of the product. We do. It is really hard to work with now income. And if you can help us with that, I mean, we feel right now with a distributor, we need to find a lawyer because it's like we gave him so much food and he just gave us like no money for it. And we feel like we need somebody to, back us up. Or, if people, and it's not only us that feel that way. A lot of people feel that way. But there's nothing they can do. They just receive what they get, and it's not fair. It's not fair, and that's why, like people, young people, they see the parents that are struggling, you know, because they, yes, you work. Sometimes I get home 11 p.m. You know, I mean, I've got a happy camper, and that's how I'm trying to pass to my son. He wants to go into agriculture, but he sees the struggle that we're going through. And I tell him, better work and study and make this better, this feel better, you know, for future generations. But we want our kids to stay in the ag industry, but we have to have all that support. Otherwise, they're gonna go all of them into computers and Google it, and you know, and we want food. We need food, don't we? It's nice, huh? So we need that backup from the legal perspective of getting paid fairly, you know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with some things you were saying. It definitely is a challenge that we as producers cannot always get price-wise what we ask for, and sometimes it is that is decided by the consumer, but it's also decided by the people that we're working with, or competition, and that's something that around my field of work has definitely started to become an issue. I would say in the past years that I've been doing this. People are always trying to sell stuff for cheaper and cheaper because they think that that's the only way that they're going to be able to sell the product, and that ends up hurting everybody. And I believe we're all guilty of it. That's something that we should definitely have a better plan of, because if that is not addressed, there might not be a benefit of being a farmer. So
We definitely recognize the struggle and the challenge. And I hope that with these types of meetings, activities, that we can foster those conversations and possibly allow and facilitate those conversations. All right, I got time for one more question. Please.
Oh, ahí está. So, tengo una pregunta sobre si ustedes están pensando o si han experimentado con el ser un valor añadido del producto del que ustedes siembran. No, cualquiera. O sea, puede ser de la pitaya o puede ser de Puerto Rico, nursery, yo sé que es posible, pero la pregunta sobre.
Sí, bueno, nosotros en Puerto Rico con el café, ¿verdad? Hemos planeado montar un beneficiado para disculparlo, secarlo y poder vender el café seco a los mismos torrefactores, ¿no? Para añadirle valor, porque pues, la diferencia de precio es bastante considerable y nosotros también tenemos un problema que la compañía estaba diciendo, que el precio pues, nunca es justo para el agricultor. Siempre el intermediario es el que se lleva la mayor parte y ninguno como... Por eso es importante que se meta a la agricultura le guste, porque todos esos obstáculos, todos esos problemas que te enfrentas, pues si te gusta lo que estás haciendo, lo ves como un reto y lo brincas y sigues hacia adelante, pero la generación futura, cuando ve todos esos problemas, pues a veces sigue otra carrera porque hay que entenderlo también. O sea, pero nosotros por lo menos en el café estamos planificando eso, hacer un beneficiado y secarlo. No hemos mirado nada sobre coffee shop ni venderlo en harina como tal, pero estamos pensando eso.
Yes, we have thought about other ways to sell the food other than just the food itself, by doing the pulp or and selling it frozen in like cut it into pieces and bag it up and sell it. But once again, we need money for that. We need a big investment. We need a building. We need
installations. We need all that to be able to do it. It's not just me going into my kitchen and cutting it. It's not that. I need personnel, I need equipment, I need all that. Of course, in the first day I went over there and I saw the food, especially we have two kind of food. We have number one, that is the one that has no stains, because what happened with dragon fruit, it gets stained with the rain. Okay? But inside the fruit, it is perfect, because this is the kind of fruit that gets damaged from the outside to the inside. You see? So when it rains, it stains the fruit, or sometimes the flour just, when it is flour, it just sticks to the fruit, and people, consumers say, oh, it's damaged, but inside is a perfect, okay? But on the, but the outside, it doesn't look beautiful, you know? So the number one is the perfect one, has no stains whatsoever. But what happened with the number two? I said, well, let's cut it, let's blend it, and something so we can sell it. But it comes the challenge of the money, you know, that we need the installation. We have to have a certified kitchen to do it. We needed purified water, that has to be chlorine for the sanitation. We already put all that installation with the water. We did bought a new filter and all the stuff. We start with something. We already have the water, which is very important. But we still need the installation, and it has to be a building, a very has to be sanitized building, where the workers have to wear the proper clothing to go into that, So, and we need to provide that to the employee. You know what I mean? All the outfit outside, and the nets on the hair, the gloves, and everything is money. So yes, we have thought about it, but we just need the money. And we have thought many installation places like that in Vietnam, and how they do it with the dragon fruit is out of this world. Really nice, and we would love to have one of those here in the States. That we would do, but we need them to pay us more for the food so we can get there.
Good. So, anybody else? We got 5 more minutes.
Bueno, complementar lo que dice mi sobrina y lo que he puesto, en realidad sí se necesita no solamente para las instalaciones, sino para pagar el personal que hay que contratar para industrializar la fruta. Y lo mejor de esto es que entonces todo sería fruta de primera, la que tiene la mancha y la que no tiene la mancha, porque como explicó, la pulpa internamente es de la primera calidad y es igual en una u otra fruta. Como está bien presentada en bolsas limpias y sanitariamente dispuestas, el que le gusta la va a consumir con muchos beneficios orgánicos, que es lo que tiene esta fruta para las personas que la ingieren y que la consumen. Eso es lo que quisiera agregar. Ojalá llegara la posibilidad de que en este país y en nuestra mano estuviera la industrialización de la pulpa de la pitaya.
So I would say that one of my goals for the next couple of years is to be able to do a little bit more outreach with this southeastern part of the U.S. And be able to move my merchandise out of my local area. I know that once I start doing that, the profits are definitely going to increase, and that's definitely going to be a challenge because I'm not familiar with this area, but it's all about meeting people, and it's all about creating contacts. So.
Rafael. Yes. Quería aprovechar, tú que me mencionaste de Puerto Rico que estás buscando ser un beneficiado. NRCS tiene asistencia para gente que están implementando beneficiados, que van de 50 galones de agua a un solo galón de agua por libra procesada de café. Que es algo que estamos viendo, que ya se ha estado haciendo y que todavía se ofrece en NRCS. Y para ustedes todos que mencionaron, sería desarrollo rural, tiene grants, de value added que deberían de ver. Obviamente no tienen que traer dinero a la mesa y ellos tienen ayuda, pero algo que pudieran considerar es hacerlo fácil.
All right, I want to thank you all for your candor and your kindness in being here. I learned a lot from the graphic food, a little bit more about coffee than the nursery. I appreciate your life experiences, sir. And please, let's thank you. My pleasure to pass it to Jessica.
That was great. Thank you, Rafael. One more big round of applause for our If you didn't have a chance to ask your question during this section, I encourage you to take some of these panelists aside and talk to them during our lunch later on today or during our break in a little while. So before we break, before I let you guys leave the room for a little while, I wanted to draw your attention towards your program books. So you see the program book. Inside the program book, you have some takeaways, some flyers. Take a look at this flyer about the field demonstration on soil health. You all are invited. Each one of you is invited. This is taking place tomorrow from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. You don't have to RSVP, but if you'd like to RSVP and go ahead and reserve your seat, there's some contact information at the bottom of the flyer. And then there's also a map included within that program book. So you would just meet at the location tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. or maybe a little bit before?
9 is perfect.
9 a.m. So you heard it from the boss. All right? So please join us for that tomorrow if you have the time and if you're interested. Another item that I'd like to remind you of is the evaluation. You also have an evaluation in your program book. This is a great time during our break to go ahead and check the boxes and fill out the evaluation. You can go ahead and turn it in at the front. Otherwise, you can fill it out later on and we'll come around and pick those up at the end of the day. So without further ado, I know you guys are itching to take a walk and stretch out your legs. We'll have a 15-minute break. We'll meet back over here at 11:15 a.m. If you want to use the restrooms, if you haven't seen them already, you will just exit either one of these doors, but they are right in front of the elevators. So men's and women's restrooms are right in front of the elevators. And then we'll meet back here at 11:15 a.m. Thank you guys.
Ok, dile a Patricia que se venga.